Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC on ABC 5, Emmett versus Topuria. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Cody Brundage versus Cedricus Dumas. And in this one, I got Cody Brundage low confidence to beat Cedricus Dumas. I just like Cody Brundage's experience inside the UFC. He has some wins, he has some losses. Definitely not the best guy in the UFC. That's why it's low confidence. Cedricus Dumas, I feel like he could definitely make some improvements, but really after looking at his last fight, I feel like he kind of was rushed a little bit into the UFC. Maybe should take some time outside the UFC to get better. Well, no, maybe it's gonna be a case of sink or swim, and then maybe he'll just have to evolve inside the UFC and hope for a chance to be better, or I don't know, he'll be improved with inside the UFC. But it's never really the best path to success to try to sink or swim in today's UFC. In the past, sometimes people come to UFC debut, be 0-0-0, come to UFC, and sometimes they'll make it through the fire and they'll be, stick around. But in today's era, you just don't got it. Sometimes you just never get it. But yeah. Anyway, I just feel like Dumas isn't physically lacking. He's not the most physically strong guy. I feel like on the feet, he's kind of just throws stuff out there. I feel like Brundage's not the most technical striker either, but I definitely feel he's the much better wrestler and the much better grappler. Dumas maybe got those long limbs, could probably get a good front choke, a high elbow guillotine, but again, nowhere in his game is he really has a real clean background. BJJ not really clean, his striking is not really clean. Like I said, his striking's all over the place. His grappling, he just kind of snatches things up, but he ain't really no real rhyme or reason to what he does too much. So I just feel like Cody Brundage is just a more fleshed out fighter. I like his experience here. Also a young guy as well. Matter of fact, he might be younger than Dumas. Matter of fact, I think 1 year older than Dumas. But anyway, both guys are pretty young, or at least right around prime. They ain't young 25, 24, but 29 and 30, yeah, pretty young. Kind of just still sitting outside the prime or at the beginning of your prime. But yeah, I think Brundage's going to be more physical, be able to probably throw some heavy shots, pressure, score some takedowns, then maybe dominate him on the ground, and I think he submits him in the first round. So in this one, I have Cody Brundage via first round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got Tyra versus Clayson Rodriguez. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going low confidence Tyra. I feel like Clayson Rodriguez, in my opinion, is the more well-rounded fighter. But I think Tyra is more tested and has won more against those tests. Whereas Clayson Rodriguez is 1-1 in the UFC. Tyra has a win over the guy that Rodriguez lost to, but that's not the whole MMA spiel, not the whole MMA math to it. But I definitely think Tyra is the better at his one particular skill, or at least he has, as far as if you can focus on any one particular skill between these fighters, I think, or one individual skill, I feel like Tyra grappling is the most standout thing between either of these guys. Clayson Rodriguez, I definitely think he's the better striker between these two, but as far as a skill that you could say, oh, that guy excels and is truly already probably one of the elites in that skill in this division, is Tyra's grappling BJJ. He's already elite at this weight class, I would feel. I'm not saying he's going to be elite enough to, with just that skill alone, be able to climb the rankings, but it's definitely going to help him along the way. And also Clayson Rodriguez, we still don't know if it's a case where his cardio has proven not to be questionable yet. Yes, I feel his debut in UFC it was a loss, but I saw his skill in that loss. I feel like he looked good, but he just kind of faded out. He didn't manage his cardio well, but the skill was definitely there. But then the issue with his second fight is he took a easy money fight in his last fight, and he just was able to run through Shannon Ross. So I still don't know where his cardio is going to be like, and it's kind of a little bit too early to get hyped off him just purely off that Shannon Ross win. Who's Shannon Ross? No insult, but who's Shannon Ross? Don't really mean much. It's a good win. You needed that win. You can show your killer instinct. You can show some of your ability, to show your explosion. Like I said, a showcase fight, but that's all it was, a showcase fight. Guy could put in there to lay down for you or to be laid down easy for you. But I'm talking too much for this prediction right here. I think Clayson Rodriguez is going to look good early. But I think eventually Tyra is going to be able to get those takedowns and control him. I feel like he's going to be able to wear him down over the course of the fight once he starts to secure position. But I feel good start for Clayson Rodriguez, but he's going to slow down. And Tyra is going to start to get the takedowns easier. And then in the third round, he's going to be able to tap him out. So in this one, I have Tyra via third round submission. Now to our next fight we have in the featherweight division. We got Jamal Emmers versus Jack Jenkins, and the high about this one right here is I don't know if I went low or average. No, I think I went average. I believe I went average. If it's average, low, it's about the same thing. It is what it is. So average confidence, Jack Jenkins to beat Jamal Emmers. I think Jamal Emery is a very solid fighter. I think he has a lot of talent. I think he has a good frame for the weight class. I think he has, a good overall skill set. I just question his fight IQ a lot of times. And he's just not really a trustworthy fighter to be. That's just what it comes down to. He's just not a trustworthy fighter, in my honest opinion. And I don't feel like he has a style that, necessarily is a kryptonite for Jack Jenkins. I feel if anything, Emery has the skills to cause issues for Jack Jenkins, but he don't have the style to cause issues for Jack Jenkins, if you get what I'm trying to say. I feel he has good length. He could be probably like with that length, he could be like mix his shots and it be long, be frustrating for Jack Jenkins, or he'd be kind of a long guy that, just like use that length and just abuses it on you and stuff, just punches with you long punches and smother and like really hugging over top of you to like just crowding the space up, then try to jump on your back and wrap those long legs around you and stuff, like a smothering long guy, maybe like a mini Neil Magni, but it's like with more technique and more cardio and more skill, etc., etc. That could be an issue for Jack Jenkins. But I feel like Emery, a lot of times, he likes to fight at range, which isn't an issue for tall guys, but it could be an issue when you're going in with a faster, sharper striker, especially a guy that excels in destroying legs. And I feel like that's going to be the issue. I feel like Emery's going to have the ability and the skills, but I feel like he's not going to put the game plan together that's going to find him success. I don't feel like he's going to have the consistent success with the grappling. I think he'll do okay on his feet, but I think Jack Jenkins' investment to the body, investment to the leg most importantly, but also investment to the body, but especially again to the legs, is going to pay the dividends, and that's what's going to win the fight, whether it be a decision or a TKO. But I'm gonna lean to a decision. I don't feel like it's going to end in injury. I said Jack Jenkins, but Jamal Emery's got long, skinny legs, and I think Jack Jenkins is going to invest in those calves and destroy those legs, and I think it's going to end in a second round leg kick TKO via injury. So in this one, I have Jack Jenkins via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Trevor Peek versus Chipe Mariscal. And how I feel about this one right here is going average confidence Trevor Peek. Chipe Mariscal is definitely not no scrub, to be honest. He's not a complete scrub. Well, he's not a scrub. I'm not going to say he's not a scrub for sure. So this is not the case where Trevor Peek just been given a guy that's easy money for him, going to lay down for him, no skills whatsoever, and he's going to go out there and trade and bang with him like his last opponent. That's not what it is. Chipe Mariscal will trade and bang with him, which is why I'm leaning against Chipe Mariscal, and that's his style. But he has beaten some decent guys in Yusuf Zalal and Pat Sabatini, so the guy is not a scrub. I can see how he won those fights, and I can see how he'll lose those fights, because he is an aggressive fighter. He will stand and bang. But I'm just saying he's not a complete scrub that just stand and bang. That's what makes it a bit harder. But yeah, it makes it a bit harder. But ultimately, Chipe Mariscal does like the stand and bang, just like Trevor Peek does. But I think Trevor Peek, again, is just built different. Like he still got that big, sturdy chin on him. And Chipe Mariscal is going to give him the type of fight he wants. It's going to be a good, scrappy fight, but Trevor Peek's going to be able to take shots better than Mariscal, and he's going to be able to dish them better than Mariscal. And I see a good scrap for as long as it lasts, but I say this is a quick, short, stand and bang going in the first round. I think Trevor Peek knocks him out in the first round. So in this one, I have Trevor Peek via first round TKO. Now on to our next fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got Zhalgas Zhumagulov versus Joshua Van. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence Zhalgas Zhumagulov to win against Joshua Van. I just think Joshua Van, he's a solid talent, but he's only 21 years old. I don't feel like his level of competition has been that good yet, but it's understandable. He's only 21 years old. Or not 21, 20, 22, whatever the case may be, very young. 8 fights, which smell pretty decent, but again, hasn't really fought the level of competition. Like 8 fights, but none of them against like real, like grown man, like competition. But I definitely see the skills in him and the talent in him. But I think right now, Zhalgas Zhumagulov should be able to win this one. Should be able to use that man strength. Should be able to use his experience. And should be able to beat Joshua Van. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight at all. It's going to be a tough fight. But I think this is more so going to be a learning curve for Joshua Van. Zhalgas Zhumagulov probably landing the heavier shots. They're probably looking to grab him up, take him down at points. And look at this, the ground of the decision, probably even grind him against the cage, drag him down to the mat, pressure him against the cage with heavy shots. Then, like I said, look to just really smash him against the cage and then drag him down and just ground of the decision over Joshua Van. But yeah, Joshua Van is definitely not no slouch. And he's definitely like here for a reason, but I just think this is not really going to be the matchup for him, in my opinion. So in this one, I have Zhalgas Zhumagulov via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's strawweight division, we got Tabitha Richie versus Jillian Robertson. And half about this one right here is going Jillian Robertson to beat Tabitha Richie, low confidence. I just feel, in my opinion, I feel like Jillian Robertson should do well against Tabitha Richie. I still have not really truly been impressed with Tabitha Richie to the extent like I'm saying a lot, not to the extent where it's like, and I'm saying like a lot. It's not to the extent where Richie has truly shown herself to be somebody that's actually going to have real weight or real effect in this weight class. Like, she looked like a fighter who can stack up some wins, but she's going to run into a very hard wall pretty quickly or pretty soon. And it's pretty obvious. Like, she's not the biggest woman. She's not the strongest woman. She's not the most tactical. She don't really got no notable striking, nothing, no real notable skill sets. I feel like she's a good grappler at the lower end, lower end, but beyond that, I feel she really got nothing for the people that's really threats in this weight class or that's really ranked in this weight class. Like, no, really, really ranked. Not like this barely ranked, but like really ranked and like sitting in the spot. She really ain't got nothing for those women, in my opinion. And you can say the same about Jillian Robertson for the most part. You know, she did beat Rose Namajunas in a BJJ competition, but again, that's BJJ, that's not MMA. But ultimately, I feel like Jillian Robertson is the bigger, stronger grappler. She's actually younger than her. She's more experienced to her as far as in the UFC. I think she has better grappling. I feel like striking relatively even. I feel like Richie pushes a better pace, but I feel like striking relatively even. And I feel like Robertson is the stronger grappler and the more lethal grappler, in my opinion. And I think she should be able to impose her will on the smaller Richie. And I think she should be able to really be able to just kind of be the big sister around the cage a little bit. And eventually be able to snap on an armbar or a rear naked choke in that second round and get her out of there. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy fight, but I do think Jillian Robertson, as a matter of fact, it's low confidence, so obviously I'm not saying it's an easy fight, but I think Robertson should be able to get it finished. I think it'll be a good competitive fight, but I just think Robertson, in my opinion, is going to be better. So in this one, I have Jillian Robertson via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Rebecci versus Loic Rajabov, and half about this one right here is I'm going average confidence Loic Rajabov to beat Rebecci. So Rajabov is bigger, better and more technical in every area, I feel. Rebecci might be a better wrestler, grappler to an extent, but as far as how far is that applicable, I don't think it's very applicable against Rajabov. I feel like Rajabov has been in with bigger, better wrestler, grapplers, and should be able to address the wrestling of Rebecci, maybe even mix his own takedowns. But I feel more than anything, he probably is going to look to stuff the takedowns of Rebecci, probably punch him in the body, try to probably choke him a little bit, just give him something to worry about on the ground or when he's shooting these shots. Probably give him some big uppercuts. He's like level changing. Just sprawling heavy, punch him in the rib, punch him in the back, and, just like making him hurt. Then on the feet, Rebecci really ain't got much on the feet. He kind of just throws anything out there, really like a bunch of overhands, just power shots with no real setup behind them, just to, like I said, fill the lane up, and then just look to go for takedowns and stuff. So against Rajabov, a guy who has probably trained with people that's all they do. They're probably, when you look at Rajabov's gym, that's probably literally like 99% of everybody in the gym is that what Rebecci is, probably on a better level. Just overhands and takedowns, like grapple heavy gym. So he's used to that. He's fought a lot of those fighters and done well against a lot of those fighters. And again, fighters I feel have been better than Rebecci. So I feel like he should be able to address the wrestling. I just think he's the more technical striker. And he's a more technical striker. And he's also heavy hitter striker. And he's a guy that's not really looking to play out there. He's going to look to hit you with some heat. And I think he's going to be able to get Rebecci out of stuff his takedowns, crack him with some big shots, wear him down. And I'm going to say a second round TKO for Loic Rajabov. So in this one, I have Loic Rajabov via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Randy Brown versus Wellington Thurman. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence Randy Brown to beat Wellington Thurman. Really, what's kind of holding me back from going high confidence for Randy Brown here is the fact that Thurman is like, he's not really this old middleweight coming down and is like trying to save his career or like some old mediocre middleweight. He is kind of mediocre for middleweight, but he's not he's like still very much, I think he's still like mid-20s. He's got decent frame to cut down the welterweight. He's not like no guy that's like 6'4" trying to cut down the welterweight and revive his career. So he's a young guy, and I feel like he can cut down and make adjustments, and maybe it would be a better move for him. It's also not like Randy Brown's the most trustworthy fighter or the most consistent thing, but I like Randy Brown here. He's a pretty solid fighter. And I don't think it's the worst stylistic matchup for Randy Brown. I feel like dealing with a slower, bigger guy, I feel like he should be able to defend takedowns better. Then Wellington Thurman still has not really developed a real fleshed out striking game. He kind of still just throws shots out there, don't conserve his cardio very well. And I feel like against Randy Brown, who's so sharp and quick twitched, and it's like, this, pretty high IQ striker for the most part, at least in the striking department. He got some underrated BJJ as well. I feel like he should be addressed to grappling Thurman pretty well and should be the pick him apart on the feet. I was thinking like a late third round TKO maybe, but I'm going to say decision. I just feel like he's going to be the stuff takedowns. Thurman probably going to give it his all and probably be trying to hold for dear life a lot in this fight, try to work him against cage, try to go desperado for some takedowns. So he's going to keep himself in the fight that way. But I think the story of this fight is going to be Randy Brown is painting the picture out there on Thurman's face, body, and legs, just chewing him up and put it on the striking clinic against a labored Wellington Thurman trying to adjust to a new weight class. So in this one, I have Randy Brown via decision. Now into our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Neil Magni versus Philip Rowe. And how I feel about this one right here is low confidence. Neil Magni to beat Philip Rowe. I think Philip Rowe is a pretty decent fighter. Well, I really look at his tape right now. Well, not even looking at him. I've already been watching his whole fight, but just knowing who he is and watching his fights. How has Phil Rowe won? I think he beat like 3 chinny guys, well, 2 chinny guys, and he beat Nico Price. I think they all been kind of like rallying TKOs for the most part. I feel like Nico Price fight was kind of a seesaw. I feel like Philip Rowe started kind of well, and then Nico Price started to come on, and then just as Nico Price really started to make a shift and like he's about to change the narrative of the fight, then Philip Rowe was able to put him away. So then other guys, what's his name? Jason Witt. Jason Witt got no chin. And he kind of just survived the first round against Jason Witt and put him out second round. Then guess what? The Cozy brother, those guys are notoriously can have decent first rounds, then fade in the second round. He put him away. So when I look at his path to victory, like it don't really align with beating Neil Magny. Neil Magny is like not the most wow you fighter, but he has been a fighter that has worn fighters down and potentially, finished some people or just in general just wore people down and won fights. That has been Neil Magny. He's big, he's long, just like Philip Rowe. I think he's a little bit more physically strong than Philip Rowe. Much more experienced. And I feel he could push a pace and not really get tired. And there's not really a whole lot of people that necessarily finish Neil Magny, especially not on the feet. It's been a few people who finished him on the feet. But when you look at people that finished, it's much more elite competition than Philip Rowe has shown to be. And we look at the biggest track record of beating Neil Magny has been black belts that have good takedown offense and are good leg kicks to trip them up like RDA did. And then on the ground, they could just cut through him like butter. But Philip Rowe has not shown good takedown offense. And again, most of the thing he has shown has been a guy that can survive and then put you away in a second if you got bad gassing. That's what he has shown so far in his career. So definitely got some potential here, but nothing I can really feel like comfortable leaning to. So I'm definitely going to lean the veteran Neil Magny here to be able to, do his typical style, volume, clinch, hold you against the cage, drain the clock down, and just, like I said, wall install. Maybe look to mix some takedowns in. Maybe look to take your back a little bit, but basically this point fighting and clock fighting you and beating you to a decision. So in this one, I have Neil Magny via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, in our first fight on the main card, Brendan Allen versus Bruno Silva. And how I feel about this one right here, I'm going to average confidence Brendan Allen. Yeah, with Brendan Allen is definitely some concerns because I don't know if he's that guy that's going to be able to get beyond a big puncher. I mean, not just purely a big puncher, but a guy that has, got the striking skills, got the heavy hands, and, is a decent fighter, pretty good fighter. He's not just a guy that's you can just take down and he's going to flip over just by you tapping him. Like, you're going to have to work to get him down. He got big power. He's experienced. He's fought around the world and, been successful around the world. That could be an issue for him, but I'm liking Brendan Allen's progress, continued progress. He's still going to be that guy that's going to be a bit concerned about him until proven otherwise. This could be a fight that could put you in the step and say, oh, I don't have to worry about Brendan Allen's chin as much or him dealing with big, heavy punchers as much. Like I said, this could definitely be this fight. And I still feel like he has enough of a ceiling in his career. He's still at a good point to really make adjustments. So I'm leaning into that adjustments. Also leaning the fact that Bruno Silva kind of been hot and cold in the UFC. And also lost a guy like Gerard Machar, who I feel Brendan Allen's a better version, in my opinion. A younger, better version of Gerard Machar, in my opinion. Except I guess in his last fight, he did have a good upset. So that's kind of a Gerard Machar moment. Gerard Machar never been the most outstanding guy or even guy you really care to look at. But he's been that guy that you sleep on, he will upset you. And Brendan Allen did have a moment like that in his last fight. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to like the improvements Brendan Allen has been making on the feet. Be landing some clean shots, be more defensively sound, and be able to make Bruno Silva overcommit, swing wild, swing big shots like he liked to do, and then use his momentum to drag the fight to the ground, and then from there start to dominate the fight. To start to be heavy on top of him, dropping elbows, cutting him up, busting him up, and then take a labored Bruno Silva in the second round down easier, and then tap him out in that second round. Probably a rear naked choke mid-second round to get Bruno Silva out of there. So in this one, I had Brendan Allen via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got David Onama versus Gabriel Santos. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence, Gabriel Santos to beat David Onama. I think David Onama is a solid talent, but his wrestling in like the Landwehr fight, and then the Mason Jones fight, definitely me concerns. Also, his cardio in both of those fights have left me concerned. I feel like Gabriel Santos is the more fleshed out fighter. Onama ain't no slouch. He's a well-rounded fighter. But I think technically defensive wrestling needs some work. Cardio needs some work. Grappling needs a little bit of work. Striking, like everywhere he needs some work. But definitely I would say cardio and wrestling defense probably the biggest things about him. And I feel like Gabriel Santos can exploit that. I feel like Gabriel Santos might not be as heavy of a hitter, might not have as fast as hands as David Onama, but I feel like he can mix it up, and I feel like Onama really is going to be bringing offensive striking. He's going to have probably limited success, if any, in the grappling department. I feel like Santos is going to have success on the feet, success in the grappling, some success in the BJJ, in every facet, whereas Onama, I feel, again, his success largely going to be limited to just striking and look to land heavy shots. And yeah, I just feel like Gabriel Santos will be the mixing takedowns well, look to pressure and wear him down, kind of follow a Landwehr approach, follow a Jones approach. But I feel like Santos has better BJJ than either of those guys and should be able to get the fight done, especially once he wears Onama down. And I think he has more potential chance to actually hurt Onama on the feet than those guys as well. So has more chance to hurt him on the feet, catch him with those critical shots. And also on the ground, once he's worn Onama down and Onama starts to fatigue again. I know Onama got hurt and he ain't no real slouch in the ground, but I feel like Santos is a killer. I think he'll be able to exploit a guy that's going to be gassed, breathing heavy in the later rounds or in the mid-late rounds and be the tap him out. I'm going to lean to like a late second round sub for Gabriel Santos, tap out already gasping for air Onama and get him out of there late second round. So in this one, I have Gabriel Santos via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the heavyweight division, we got Justin Tafa versus Austin Lane. And how I feel about this one right here is going Justin Tafa low confidence. I can't go high confidence or no lock or none of that stuff with Justin Tafa. Low confidence is about as far as my confidence with this guy will stretch is right now, especially not with a preferable Huntsucker or, just like legit the exact bottom of the weight class. And you can say Austin Lane probably going to eventually fall to the exact bottom not too long into his UFC career. Maybe in this fight going to put him in the exact bottom, but Austin Lane does still have some upside to him potentially, so that's where the concern comes from. But again, he don't really have no real proven background. He's wrestling, overall he has a proven as a fighter, but all he ever will be is just a guy who was a former athlete who turned into MMA. So his skill set, especially when he didn't come in here like at 20 or something, or even really probably had this or that. So what are you saying? But anyway, I just feel like Austin Lane just 90-day program MMA fighter. Like he's making his improvement, but I feel like his ceiling kind of is a physical presence with a 90-day MMA gym pass. That's where I feel like his skills go. So decent cardio, decent heart for heavyweights, and but no real fleshed out striking kind of sloppy at times. Lean over. I feel like Justin Tafa come from a family of strikers. He got a lot of striking deficiencies as well. He's much more confident on the feet, and his holes aren't nearly as big as Lane. I feel he could dish shots better and receive them better. Also, Tafa has shown a pretty decent chin for the most part, and Lane ain't shown to be that big of a hitter. I'm not saying that he needs to take his punch, but I feel like if Tafa lands clean, it's going to be a much bigger story, more than likely than if Lane lands a good shot, or more than likely. I'm not saying 100%. I'm saying more than likely. Probably like with a 70% chance, Tafa catch him something clean, it's going to probably be night. Whereas Lane probably going to be like a 25% chance he catch him something clean, or 15% chance it's going to be like that one hit a quitter. But anyway, to get to the point of this prediction right here, I feel like Austin Lane going to try to come out, be a little bit timid, then maybe try to respond with some big shots to try to keep Tafa off him. But Tafa is going to be trying to draw that out of him. Draw that little amateurish reactions out of him and make him throw some shots and lean over and look to catch him with clean counters and put him out in the first round. So in this one, I have Justin Tafa via first round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, we got Amanda Hebos versus Macy Barber. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going high confidence Amanda Hebos to beat Macy Barber. And in my opinion, I feel like Amanda Hebos has been making leaps and improvements in her skills, especially her wrestling, her offensive takedowns, striking as well. Grappling has already been solid, but now with the improvement in her offensive wrestling, she looked very good against Hebos. She destroyed her, in my opinion. Like, she didn't finish her, but she dominated her that fight. Took her down so easily. When I thought Araujo would be the one with the better wrestling, and she just took her down real easy. And I think probably beat her easier than anyone I've ever seen beat Araujo like this, and dominate her in the way she dominated her. And Macy Barber's takedown offense has been looking pretty questionable. She got taken down several times by Andrea Lee. Like, she got taken down like 6 times, 5 times. That's like concerning. I'm not saying Andrea Lee is a bad fighter, but to be taken down that many times by Andrea Lee is not a good look. And then you fight in a retiring Jessica I, and she gets like nearly, matter of fact, more than half the fight time of the fight, like 8 minutes and 50 seconds was Jessica I controlling you in a 15-minute fight. I hope my math is right. Yeah, 8 minutes definitely more than half the time, because 15 minutes, 8, like 16, at least double. So it was like 8:50. So that's like almost 18 minutes, almost half 18 minutes of her controlling. I mean, I was not doing 18 minutes in the fight, but I'm trying to say, yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. But anyway, Macy Barber, takedown defense has not been looking the sharpest. And I seen the time when she did get taken down against Roxanne Modafferi, how Modafferi destroyed her on the ground and dominated her, but then she did get her ankle dislocated. But nonetheless, Amanda Hebos has been making actual improvements where I feel like Macy Barber has plateaued in one of her stronger skill sets, which was her takedown defense. I feel like that's declining. And I feel like Hebos should be able to exploit that. And I think Hebos will be about the best grappler that Macy Barber has ever fought in her MMA career. And I think she will be able to exploit that. I feel like she'll be able to have good success with her striking, but not play there too much, and then be able to transition to her grappling. And from there, I think she's going to be able to dominate, wear Macy Barber down. And I see her tapping out like the 3rd round. So this first round kind of a bit more dicey round, but once she started getting that control on her, start just wearing her down, it's going to be a snowball effect from down there, from that point on. And it's going to be a constant wear down on Barber, and Barber just going to look frustrated, lost again. And the judges ain't going to be able to help her this time. I think Hebos is able to put the stamp on her, tap her out in the 3rd round. So in this one, I have Amanda Hebos via 3rd round submission. Now to our main event, we have in the featherweight division, Josh Emmett versus Ilia Topuria. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going lock confidence Ilia Topuria to beat Josh Emmett. I just feel like Ilia Topuria is just flat out better in every area. I feel like Josh Emmett comes to scrap, but I feel like he gets away with a lot of sloppiness. Topuria does as well, but again, he's a little bit more sharp, a little bit more clean, a little bit more tight with his offense. Whereas Emmett, a lot of times, just be throwing shots just to get people off him. It's like a lot of times don't really be with much purpose. I feel like the most purpose he ever really does is maybe when he starts to get you reacting to his takedowns, which I feel like won't be a good success against Topuria, because Topuria ain't gonna really respect his takedowns, half respect his takedowns, and be able to easily throw him off and just pick apart on the feet. So ain't gonna be no real respect of Topuria dropping his hands to defend Emmett too much and getting caught with no overhand. So that's when he's maybe like he'll catch you with an overhand if you like, he could get you biting on the takedowns, on defending takedowns. Then he'll throw some combinations at times, like if the striking's pretty close and he's not really getting his way, but he'll just throw some combinations to, fill up the space, fill up the the scorecard or whatever, the point totals. But yeah, most time I don't really don't see much around. Also sometimes leg kicks, but nonetheless, I feel like Topuria is just faster, younger, more technical, more explosive, all those things. And Emmett is not going to respond well. I think Topuria is able to catch him in those big, wide, winging shots that Emmett likes to throw a lot of times, just fire the shot straighter down the middle, or catch him in sequence. Matter of fact, either way, it's going to be catching him in sequence. Like either like firing right through while he's swinging a wild hook and catching him straight down the middle, or going hook for hook and just having the more faster, explosive thing. Or maybe go hook for hook and then like catch him with one hook, duck the other hook, and catch him with another hook and just sleep Emmett. Either way, I see Emmett getting knocked out cold in the first round. Topuria just too skilled, too good, too strong, too talented. Emmett ain't gonna have no answer for him, in my opinion. Like, he might at best give him a good account for himself or hold a good account for himself, but I think this fight only ends in one way, with Topuria finishing Emmett. And in my opinion, I think the most likely outcome is him putting his lights out. So in this one, I have Ilia Topuria via first round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the 4 card of fights for UFC on ABC 5, Emmett versus Topuria. And as always, thanks for watching.